Hi everyone, my name is Jana El Saeed and I'm in Chemistry IBHL. For my AA, I was assigned Topic 11 Paper 1 and I chose to review with you guys 4 Paper 1 questions to help you understand them better. For the first past paper question I chose, I was supposed to determine how many significant figures were in the question. So before we find out how many significant figures are in the question, we have to go over the rules of significant figures. And we have 4 rules. First off, we have trailing zeros. Trailing zeros are considered significant figures and they come after the non-zeros. The zero after the 7 in our question is a trailing zero. Non-zeros are considered significant figures and they're any number that's not a zero. So for example, in our question, non-zeros are number 3 and number 7. Next we have leading zeros. Leading zeros are not considered significant figures. They come before non-zeros and they lead. They come before the decimal. So for example, in our question, the leading zeros are going to be 0. The 3 zeros, 0.00, those are considered leading zeros. They come before the non-zeros and they lead our numbers. They basically come before the non-zeros and the 0 before the decimal is also considered a non-zero. So we have 3 non-zeros. Captive zeros are considered significant figures and they come between non-zeros. So we don't have any captive zeros in our question, but if we did have a captive zero, it would come in between the 3 and the 7, 307. But we don't have a captive zero in our question, but if we did, it would be considered a significant figure. So in our question, we have reviewed our rules. So we have gathered that we have 3 significant figures, which are the 3, 7, and 0. Which 0, you may ask? It's the 0 after the 7, because that's a trailing 0. But our leading zeros are not significant figures. You may ask why we don't have 2 significant figures. Well, if you think only the 3 and the 7 are significant figures, you're wrong, because the 0 after is a trailing 0, and it's a significant figure. We don't have 6 significant figures because the leading zeros are not considered significant figures, so only our last 3 numbers are significant figures. And we don't have 5 significant figures because only the 3 and the 7 and the 0 are significant figures. As for the second question, it was asking which statement about the errors is correct. So before we start, I just wanted to state that random errors can be reduced by repeating the trial. Because there are random errors, you don't prepare for random errors, they just come naturally, and you can't limit them. Like for example, if the power got cut off while you're doing an experiment where light is your independent variable, so light will be affected and your results will change. But if you repeat it, the power is going to be on. It's less likely for the power to be cut off again while you don't know. So your results will change, being more accurate. So you cannot prepare for random errors. So if it is repeated, it is less likely to happen again, which is letter D. A random error can be reduced by taking more readings. This is correct. It can be reduced, like I have just stated. A systematic error cannot be reduced by taking more readings because a systematic error is a system. No matter how many times you redo it, you're going to make the same mistake you did before. A random error and a systematic error are not always expressed as percentages. They can also be expressed as absolute values, absolute uncertainties. So they don't have to always be expressed as percentages. As for my third question, it was stated that by using an accurate pH meter, the pH of the lemonade was found to be 230, which is the actual value. Students deduced the pH of the lemonade after titration with a 0.10 mol dm cubed sodium hydroxide solution. Their determined values of pH were 2.4, 2.5, 2.4 again, and 2.4 again. What is the best description of the precision and accuracy of these measurements? So before we answer this question, we need to know what precise and accurate mean. Precise means that the results are close to each other, to one another, but they're not close to the actual value. Accurate means the results are close to the actual value. So we know that our actual value is 2.30, and we know that the determined values are 2.4, 2.5, 2.4 again, and 2.4 again. So we know that our answer is not precise because the results are not close to one another. 2.4 and 2.5, that's not exactly very close. We also know that our results are not accurate because they're very off from the actual value. The actual value is 2.30 and our determined values were 2.4 and 2.5. They're very far away, or a bit far away. So we know that our answer is not going to be A because it's not precise, but it is inaccurate. Our answer is B because it's not precise and not inaccurate, and inaccurate. It's not C because it's not precise and not accurate. It's not D because it's not accurate, but it is precise. Last but not least, for the last question, it asks me the value of Q in J. It asks which value of Q in J has the correct number of significant figures. So what I did here was it gave me the formula and the givens. So the givens were 2.500, which was the M, the C was 4.18, and 0.60. So what I did is I multiplied all of them together, 2.500 times 4.18 times 0.60. For my answer, I got 6.27. Because 7 is higher than 5, I had to round the 2 to 3. So it's 6.3. When I got 6.3, I know that it has two significant figures because 6 and 3 are non-zeros, so they're significant figures. So I look towards my options and I know that A is not the answer because it's 6, and why 6? It can't be 6. We need to round it, and it has to have two significant figures. So it's B because I know it's 6.3, which is two significant figures, and it's rounded correctly. 6.27 is the answer, but it's not rounded correctly. It has three sig figs, and the 7 is higher than 5, so the 2 needs to be rounded to 3. And it's not D because the 0 is unnecessary. You do not have to add the 0. It just shows that you don't understand the whole topic, because by now it's going to have 4 significant figures and it's not rounded correctly, so neither are done. So the correct answer is B, 2 sig figs. If you've made it to the end, thank you and hope I was of good help. Till next time.